guys, so today we're going to be learning a new subtraction strategy that I call subtracting from the 10. If you look at the bottom in the blue, our goal is I can solve subtraction problems by subtracting from the 10. This is another one of those really tricky strategies. Just remember, we do not expect that all students can or will master this strategy. We're just trying to introduce you to different ideas and new strategies to get your brain thinking in new ways to see which ones do you like and which ones is your brain ready for. So just give it a try today, but don't feel frustrated if you don't get it the first time. Don't worry. Here we go. So first, starting with something that I know you can all do. Just a reminder, review on how to break up teen numbers. We've been learning that teen numbers are just a 10 plus ones or a 10 plus a digit. Let's try these at the bottom. So 18 can break up into a 10 and 8. Nice job. I knew you could do that one. How about this one? 13. 13 breaks up into 10 and 3. That's right. Let's see if you can do this last one all by yourself. 17 breaks up into what and what? 10 and 7. Nice job. All right. I think you're ready. Just a review of yesterday. Yesterday we learned how to subtract by grouping the ones. This is a really useful strategy for some problems because adding the 10 at the end is very easy to do. We've talked about a few times that adding a 10 is super easy. We do that every time that we're breaking up a teen number or putting it back together. So yesterday you learned in the video this strategy where you could subtract from the ones. So let's just review that strategy to prepare for today's strategy. So yesterday we talked about that your first step is you need to break up the teen number. So in this problem, 19 minus 5, 19 is my teen number, and it's going to break up into, you can do this, 10 and 9. Excellent. And I like to cross off the numbers every time I use them because I have to use each number one time. So this helps me keep track of which numbers I've already used and which ones I still need to use. So I crossed off the 19 because I do not have 19 anymore. Now I have a 10 and a 9. I've already used the 19. All right, here's my minus symbol in the middle here. So I have a choice. I need to subtract 5. I can either do 10 minus 5 or 9 minus 5. Now, if I can, I like to save the 10 and use the number that's not a 10. Because again, adding that 10 at the end is super easy peasy lemon squeezy. I notice in this problem, I can save the 10 because I can do 9 minus 5. So 9 minus 5 equals 4. And I'm going to cross off the 9 and the 5 because, oops, sorry, I just went back a step, because I just used them. So they're done. Now I still have this 10 left. I saved the 10 at the end because I like to save the 10. It's easy to add on. So I'm just going to add that 10 on to my 4 here. And 4 plus 10 equals 14. Now I know it sounds kind of funny that we're adding a number when this is a subtraction problem. But the reason why we have to add on that 10 is because we didn't do anything with it. It just sat there unused. It didn't get subtracted or anything. So we still have that 10. It didn't disappear. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't subtract. So that's why we need to add it on at the end. So 4 plus 10 equals 14. And that's a little bit easier. 4 plus 10 equals 14. So 19 minus 5 also equals 14. So now that we remember yesterday's strategy, let's get into today's. So when do I subtract from the 10? So we learned yesterday sometimes we subtract from the ones. Today we're learning about subtracting from the 10. How do I know when to do which kind? Here is how you can tell. So we're going to subtract from the 10 when the part is greater than the ones in the whole. Wow, that's a lot of different pieces of information. So what I did on this page is I've color-coded them for you, and I also am going to label them in this number sentence, 13 minus 6 for you. Okay, so first thing, the 13, my first number, this is my whole. because subtraction, remember, is a whole minus a part equals a part. So 13 is my whole. I always start with the whole in a subtraction problem. So 13 is the whole, so 6 is a part, because it's 13 minus 6, a whole minus a part. So there is those two pieces right there. 13 is the whole, 6 is the part. Now I'm going, for this problem, for this strategy, I'm going to break up the 13. I'm going to break it into a number bond into the two different numbers that make 13. What makes 13? Breaks into a 10 and a 3. Now we call this 10, it's a 10. That makes sense, right? The pink one's a 10. And this blue 3 is the ones. So now going back up to the top, when do I subtract from a 10? You subtract from the 10 when the part is greater than the ones in the whole. So I'm going to use this strategy that we're learning today when the part, the 6, is greater than the ones, the 3 down here. We can know that 6 is greater than 3. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 comes after 3 when I'm counting. So the 6 is greater. And the reason why I'm going to have to subtract from the ones there is because it's greater, and I can't do 3 minus 6. So remember how on the last page I said that if I can, I like to save the 10 to add at the end, but I won't be able to in this problem because I can't do 3 minus 6. Okay, that might have seemed a little confusing. Don't worry, let's get into it on the next page with steps, and I'm sure it will be much more clear. So here we have a problem, 11 minus 7. This is a great problem for this strategy because the part, the 7, is greater than the ones in this whole. The ones would be 1, and 7 is greater than 1. Here we go. Step number 1 is I'm going to break up the teen number. So I have 11 minus 7. 11 is my teen number. I'm going to break it up into a number bond, and I know that 11 breaks up into, you can do this, 10 and 1. Great job. You just did the first step. I knew you could do that. And I always like to cross off my number that I've used. I already used the 11. I don't have 11 anymore. I broke it into 10 and 1, so I crossed it off. Remember, I have to use each number one time. Step number 2, I'm going to subtract from the 10. I can't do 1 minus 7 and save the 10. It's just not going to work. So I have to do 10 minus 7 instead, and my answer is 3. And then I'm going to cross off my 10 and my 7 here because I've already used them, and I have to use each number one time. So we subtracted from the 10 because I couldn't do 1 minus 7, but I still have this 1 left over at the end. So just like in yesterday's strategy, I'm going to have to add the 1. So step number 3 is add the leftover ones, and I'm going to add it. So now I have 3, which was my answer from my subtraction problem, plus the leftover 1 because I didn't use it, so I still have it, equals 4. So 11 minus 7 equals 4. Oh, that's tricky, isn't it? Let's try a couple more examples so that we feel a little bit more confident about it. Here we go. 13 minus 8. Step number 1, break up the teen number. So I'm going to break up that 13 into 10 and 3. Wonderful. Step number 2. So now I can choose 3 minus 8 or 10 minus 8. Now remember, I like to save the 10 if I can, but look at this. 3 minus 8, put up 3 fingers. Can you subtract 8? You can't because 3 is less than 8. It's fewer. So I'm not going to be able to save the 10. So instead, step number 2, I'll have to subtract from the 10. And I'll do 10 minus 8, and that equals 2. And then I will cross off the 10 and the 8 because I've used them, and it helps me keep track. I have one number left, 3. Step number 3 is to add the leftover ones. So I'm going to take my answer from the last subtraction problem, 2. 2 plus my leftover ones, 3, and that equals 5. So 13 minus 8 equals 5. All right, one more example. Here we go. 17 minus 9. Step 1, break up the teen number. You can do this. You know it breaks up in 17 breaks into 10 and 7. Fantastic. Step number 2, subtract from the 10. I can do 7 minus 9 or 10 minus 9. I like to save the 10 if I can because it's easy to add at the end, but 7 minus 9, can I do that? Put up 7 fingers? Try taking away 9. It's not going to work because 7 is less. So, oh, I crossed off my 17 there because I already used it. Sorry, forgot to say that. So I will do 10 minus 9, and that equals 1. Then I will cross off my 10 and my 9 because I used them. I have one number left, 7. Step number 3 is add the leftover ones. So I take the 1 from my subtraction problem, plus the 7, the leftover ones, and that equals 8. So 17 minus 9 equals 8. Okay, again, I know this was tricky. I know it was a lot of information, but hopefully this gives you just a little bit of an introduction. So now you can go back in your workbook pages and you can try some of these with probably a grown-up to help you. So going back to our very first slide, our goal was I can solve subtraction problems by subtracting from the 10. Go ahead and try this today. Remember, please do not get frustrated if you don't understand it right away. Just keep trying it, and just as like Dory would say, just keep trying. And if you can't figure it out today, it's not a big problem. Don't worry. Have a great day. Grow those brains. Give it a try. Bye, friends.